I'm Steve from the Dad AF podcast, and I'm here today with Makayla Brant.
Hello.
We are going to talk about a lot of her life and being the big sister to an autistic boy, doing a lot of work with some special needs and special education children, and then all the way up to where she is now, which is working for the Eagles Autism Foundation, a foundation very close to my heart because we have just discovered in the last 3 years how awesome they are. Because of my son's diagnosis, which brings us all right here sitting at this table together.
Absolutely.
Thanks for doing this.
No, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I mean, this is an honor. And I mean, it's been so great, obviously, getting to know you over the past, it's only been a year?
Yeah, about a year and a half.
Year and a half?
Yeah.
But I think, obviously stemming from my experience with my younger brother and receiving his diagnosis at 16 months, that was something that, not every 10, 11-year-old really sees or really gets to do. So to see how far we've really come over the past 15 years has been awesome.
Yeah, so we'll start there. We'll kind of go chronologically, I guess. So you are 10. There's a baby brother.
There's a baby brother.
So you're like, wait a minute, this kid's taking all of my thunder.
I know I was an only child for 10 years.
That's a long time.
No.
I mean, it's a long time to be an only child. And then there's a lot of that going on. And then there's the unknown. Talk about how was this kind of recognized and where did the journey to an autism diagnosis start?
Yeah. So I would say it was around, I remember finding out when Eli was being born. It was right before my 10th birthday. My mom told me it was September 28th, actually. And she was like, Kayla, you're going to have a little brother. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm crying tears of joy. I can vividly remember it. And, it still stands to this day. So Eli was born in March of 2010. I went to a Taylor Swift concert 2 weeks before, just obviously so much fun. And, being able to go to the hospital, Eli being born, it was just a surreal moment, especially with, somebody who didn't have any siblings prior. So,
well, and at your age too, I think at 10, you're kind of finally getting a grasp on what life really is.
Life.
So it's kind of a good lesson in how it all works, and the birth of a new person and all that stuff. You're like, oh, okay, this all kind of makes sense now.
Yeah, this is kind of cool. I have a little sibling. And as time went on, we, everything was fine up until I want to say Eli was around 16 months. So he was doing when he was between birth and 16 month, he was walking, doing some talking, not a whole ton, but nothing that really pointed eyes to anything that was questioning. We didn't even really know what autism was back then either. So the way I remember it is he suddenly started not talking. He was unable to communicate with us completely. He would sit in a corner and just cry at us. And we're like, we have no idea what's going on. And my mom, she's amazing. And she saw it and she, took him in and we got the diagnosis. And immediately, kid you not, I would say maybe a few weeks, we started getting early intervention.
Okay.
So he was getting occupational therapy and speech therapy right away. Okay. So that was super beneficial in, starting. And I think early intervention, even back then, which, we're talking, 14, 15 years ago at this point.
Very different than it is now.
Very different. We had somebody coming into our house multiple hours a day. And my mom is a nurse. She was a single mother, full-time nurse at Paoli Hospital. So there were times that, on those days that we get off school, when you're younger, you're at that age, you want to go spend it at your friends' houses, you want to do the sleepovers. But in my case, I had to stay home with my grandmother and my brother just to help him get through his therapies in the morning. Sure. So that was definitely, it was a little hard in my position because I was I don't understand. I was 10 years old, 11, I didn't understand what this was and what the commitment of everything was. I was young.
Well, I feel like probably for a 10-year-old, it's easier to kind of quantify, all right, he broke his leg. Then I have to just help him get up the
Right.
stairs and maybe in and out of the bathroom or to get food. But when it's something like autism, where it is the unseen developmental disorder, it makes it hard to really understand like what his needs are and how to help him. So
Yeah, because he wasn't communicating. That
no,
was like the biggest thing, is like it like totally shut off. So then, the way we were able to start teaching him how to communicate was we had these things. It was called a peck book, and which would now be, the iPad with the talking device.
yeah, an
But
AAC.
exactly.
Mhm.
So Eli was using like Velcro pecks, and it would have like the word and the what is it, like the drawing,
Sure, a
the
picture
the
of it.
pi- the
Yeah,
fic the picture, and that's how he would be able to communicate with us. Now that did not happen overnight by any means, but it was, slowly turning into like what we were. That was one step that
yeah.
we were getting to, like one barrier we were jumping over.
Yeah, because that kind of brings back the frustration level a little bit in Eli, and similarly with Bradley and Kyle, my wife and me, we were 80 to 90 signs in sign language
Oh my
before
gosh.
Bradley found his words. So we were everything from poop to water to food to apple to anything that he could sign easily was
Wow.
something that we taught him, because it just was, we didn't know if he was going to talk.
Yeah.
So we had to kind of be all in on what it is. And it's, the parental role, and you being a 10, 11-year-old, 12-year-old at that time, kind of stepping up into that parental role, I can assume is
Yeah.
pretty
I
difficult.
mean,
But yeah. So let's go back a little bit. So your mom's a nurse, and was she familiar with autism? Was she familiar with stuff? Because I think a lot of the path for diagnosis for a lot of children is maybe they're nonverbal, maybe they're showing some kind of visual stims, and someone suggests, hey, you might want to get them looked at
mhm.
and evaluated for something other than just being on a delay. So
Yeah.
did your mom, was she aware of that stuff, or?
So honestly, I think to my knowledge, from what I can remember, I believe she was aware of it. It's actually very interesting. My grandparents, they both work in group homes, so we were already familiar with at least developmental disabilities to begin with.
Mhm.
So I know Eli, with him specifically, and some of those early signs used to be like the standing on the toes and walking on the toes, and
Yeah.
just like the hand flapping in
Yeah.
general. And I do believe my mom was aware of it. And I think that's what made her be so proactive and like, okay, I'm seeing these changes in my son. I need to do something about it
Sure.
now. And she did. And like I said, like being able to get those therapies right away was a game changer. Like
Sure.
at 2.5, by 3, he was being bussed down to Westchester to the Arc of Chester County. Probably 4 days a week
That's
at
awesome.
least. So to know that
And he was able to do that he was bused by himself.
he was, yeah,
I mean, that's a big,
it
for
was
any 3-year-old.
huge. It was
Yeah.
huge. Like I remember putting him like on the bus, and I'm like, you're 3 years old.
Yeah.
How are you like?
How is this not terrifying to you?
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, he was bussed down to Westchester. I live in Spring City, so Westchester's about a 30-minute commute.
Yeah.
From there. So to think that he was literally on the bus, he's going to school
Yeah.
basically all day, and then he's coming back home. And he's getting even more therapies. But that too, like just taking like flashbacks, wow, it's like
That
even
sounds insane to me,
talking
right?
about it now, it's like making me realize like, oh my gosh, there was so like Eli's journey has been he's come so far.
Yeah.
Like genuinely. Like I remember us going down there, even touring the Arc, and he had like a 1-to-1 in the classroom. Like those were like the first steps of his, to his success now.
Yeah.
And without that, like I don't know where we would be.
Yeah. Who knows? I mean, it again, when we got Bradley's diagnosis, the person that put us on the path was like, well, the worst thing that happens is you don't get a diagnosis, actually, because
Yeah.
then there's no help, there's no therapy, there's no, evaluations about what can be done. And she said, honestly, the best thing that can happen is that he does get a diagnosis, because if you think it as a parent, or the intuition is that something needs to happen because you think that a diagnosis is coming, the best thing is for that to happen, because
Oh,
then it
yeah.
opens up all the doors. You put him in all the therapies, you see what sticks, and then you kind of key in on the things that they really need.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I think, getting that diagnosis, I mean, it really it helped clear things up, I think, for us too, to like actually like not put, it's not necessarily putting a label on it, but like to understand like, okay, we can also get a lot of help. Like I heard on your podcast with Victor, like the big thing is to medicate and like being able to have that government assistance to ensure that Eli's getting everything he needs. Like that I think is huge. That's a huge part. And we've also been able to see, like, my mom has worked with, so we're in Chester County. We work with a group that is able to set Eli up for once he's done school. So like he'll get an allowance that he can use for transportation and a 1-to-1 to support him in whatever he's doing next, whether he's working in like a grocery store doing, like bagging or helping them file papers or shredding. He loves my man loves to shred papers. And like
That's
you would
great.
think it's like, but there are people like some job, like you need to have that printed out stuff, and to get rid of files, you got to put it through the shredder.
Listen, he's finding what they're great at.
Oh, he loves it. I remember like last year, my mom showed me a picture. She's like, look, Eli, he can go. He went independently. He left the classroom, went into the room and shred all of his paper, and
It's amazing.
And it's like, it was great because like, like we weren't sure where this diagnosis was going to take Eli. Like we had no idea, but to see just how much he's really grown and he's found his interest. I mean, the man loves cars.
Okay.
He loves shredding paper.
Okay.
He also loves, which I think you said this too, listening to videos in different languages. Does Bradley do that?
Bradley does do that. Yeah.
Very interesting.
It is.
I never understood it.
Well, we had like one of those toys where you could just push the button and then it would say like the lion, and then it would say it in French or Spanish depending on what you had it set up with, and then it would say the sound they make. And Bradley always gravitated to the non-English version. And like my wife and I joked that he would speak French or Spanish before he even spoke English.
That's
like, yeah, and it was
so interesting. I'm like, and it's every like he'll play on his iPad, and he'll have like Mickey Mouse. He loves Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. He's always loved Mickey Mouse. We went down to Disney. So much fun. He was literally in his element. I think this was in 2018. In his element, just being able to meet Mickey. Like, but he will listen to it in French, Mandarin. I'm like, Eli. I mean, and he doesn't, and he has a few words like here and there, but I'm like, Eli, you don't talk. And this is like you're listening to different languages. Like we don't even like where's the English, man?
One day he's just gonna start ripping off instructions to you about what he needs in Mandarin, and you're gonna have no clue what he needs.
What he's talking about. I'm like, Eli. But no, those are just like some of his little quirks that we absolutely, I have to be honest, we absolutely love.
Yeah,
it's just so
makes
funny.
him.
It does. Yeah. And I'm like, he's just such a good little brother. Like, I mean, he's way bigger than me now. I remember during COVID, which that is a whole, I feel like, topic within itself.
Probably
COVID. And obviously like he was in school, but the whole school factor, I feel like, was just completely.
And we had Bradley right before COVID, so we made it through most of COVID before diagnosis. So we had none of those trials where it was, how can you do speech therapy or OT over Zoom? Like I can't imagine having have been a parent during that time with a kid that had any kind of developmental or physical disability. Like I can't even imagine. So diagnosis, your mom, again, I think it's probably that time period too. Good for her, because I feel like a lot of the stigma that surrounds autism still was even more amplified at that point, because there was a lot less public knowledge. There wasn't as much information that was able to be consumed about how autism is and what it is. And a lot of people's preconceptions of what autism is back then was just, a kid that didn't speak, that didn't make eye contact, that had no emotions. It was never going to amount to much of anything, which, good for her. And especially the family dynamics, raising her, and you're being, kind of a surrogate parent as well, putting that out there and getting him into treatment. There's a lot of parents that might have just hid from that. And unfortunately, when you do that, the only thing you're doing is kind of harming the kid that needs the help.
I agree.
Yeah.
And my mom would not have I know for a fact that when she got that diagnosis, she was doing everything that she could
Hit the
to
ground running.
like, absolutely. Like, my mom has always been like that, like, very eager, very strong, like, minded, like, she's been navigating
I've met her.
this. Yeah,
She's a
well,
badass.
yeah,
Yeah.
you have met her. Your first time meeting her was here
Yeah.
during one of your events.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So just to like see that she was so determined to ensure that her child was getting the services, I think, coming from a parent, I mean, I'm not a parent, I'm an older sister, but from a parent standpoint, you have to be an advocate
You've lived that role to a degree.
to a degree.
A parent. I mean, I feel like when you're 10, 11, 12 and you have a younger sibling, especially if you're in a single parent household, that kind of becomes a role that you have to fulfill.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, absolutely.
don't say you're not, because you kind of are.
You
You are
are.
a little bit.
So just
Yeah.
slide in there a little bit.
Yeah.
But you have to advocate. And I feel like
Yeah.
from a parent's even though I'm in that too, quote unquote, but you guys are always consistently advocating for your kids. And I think even back then, like, you really had to like fight for what you needed and the services because again, like it wasn't as like it was talked about, but it wasn't, it wasn't in your everyday conversation. I think you would have Autism Acceptance Month, and that was like really the biggest thing. Like that was, it was just April. That was like the only time we talked about it. And it was kind of after April was done, it was just never really brought up again. Like,
yeah. In the other 11 months of the year, they're just the noisy kid that can't pay attention that distracts everybody else in class. Yeah.
Exactly.
Or the kid that needs an assistant with them all the time just to aid in life functions, which is completely unfair to label them that way because, I mean, I've now had the pleasure of meeting a lot of kids on the spectrum, and I know that you work very closely with a lot of kids on the spectrum, and it's amazing to see how special and how awesome these kids are. And just because they have the autism diagnosis doesn't mean that they can't just be better than everybody else on this planet. So yeah, it's great.
I've had the opportunity because when Eli went into school, he started going to Variety Club Camp, which is a autism and disabilities camp in Worcester. So he was there, I want to say, let's fast forward maybe 3 years.
Okay.
And he was going there every single single day, again, like from 8:30 in the morning until 3:30, always taking the bus too.
Yeah.
We never drove Eli anywhere because like he also like he loves the cars, so like it's really hard for us to transition like the car to go to the bus.
Place.
So, but don't think all of that was rainbow and sunshines. There were days that Eli would not get on the bus. It sounds like there were days he wouldn't get on the bus. He did have his moments of just like, I wouldn't say aggression, but just like the frustration. And you obviously know when you're frustrated, we can yell, we can get mad. But Eli, he would give a little nom, like a little. Just a little nib. Oh yeah, like
I get it. I do.
And again, like this is. I mean, he does not do this now, but this was, the steps again we had to take. Like he wouldn't get on the bus. He would, drop to the floor, and that's totally okay. Like it was obviously at that time, it was hard to watch him do because we're like, what can we do to support you?
Exactly.
And it's like it just wasn't translating through all of us. So, but then it got better, and obviously with like consistency and routine and the schedule, like it really helped. But I will say, like, it wasn't all like it wasn't ever really easy back then.
No, but I mean, my job as Bradley's dad and your job to a degree as Eli's sister isn't saying to them, you cannot have these feelings and you cannot display them this way. Your job and my job is to just let them be who they need to be in that moment and help them work through that.
Exactly.
And that's the important part, and the whole emotional support part of this thing that I really like to kind of champion and talk about is that, removing them from a situation that is going to cause some emotional distress for you or them isn't going to help anybody. And you have to remove some of your emotion from the situation because you're only reacting to how they feel. And their feelings are what really is important in that whole scenario. And it's not oh no, people are watching me, or oh no, somebody thinks poorly of us because our son is having an emotional outburst. Like, it's your job to sit there and say,
And
okay, this doesn't matter how I feel at all. It matters how I'm helping my brother or my son get through these feelings. And it's the
yeah,
part I struggle with sometimes too. Like,
I agree. I
I'm
feel
not on
like
this because I'm perfect. I'm on this because I want to talk about how it's hard to navigate that sometimes.
yeah, and I think you brought up a really good point of like the emotions. I think, at that age when he was doing those things, like it it brought tears sometimes because like they felt like we couldn't find a way to help him.
Hmm.
And it was really hard because then yeah, like you're saying, like having people like look at you and they're like, what are you doing?
Yep.
And like, why is he doing that? I'm just like, well, listen, he's just having a hard time. Like I would say, like, at that age, like, we're progressing now towards 14 and 15, that prime teenage years for
Yeah.
me, where,
Well, and he's getting bigger and stronger too. And yeah.
and it was like, it was hard because, and my mom did a really good job at this too, and like really keeping, herself poised and together, like
Yeah.
when he was having some of these meltdowns. And then there's me who I'm just trying to help, but
Yeah.
I'm getting frustrated and I'm getting upset because I can't do anything to help my brother.
Yeah.
Like I can't do anything. And I think that's a really good point you make, that I think not a lot of people really talk about because they're so nervous to talk about it because they're like, ugh, like they don't want to show that emotional side
Mhm.
of, growing and living through this.
Well, yeah, because society says it's got to be perfect. It's got to be great. It's got to be polished. I think a lot of the social media pushes people in that way too. I mean, you can't go on
Yeah.
Instagram without seeing a filter on somebody's face video or whatever they're doing. And it's what is real and what's not real.
Like, where's the raw content?
yeah, not a lot of people post things that are real, and that's reality. Like I remember we were at the pool one time.
Oh, he loves the pool.
Yeah,
I
Bradley's
mean, he's a swimmer.
but we were at the pool one time and pool had to close. I think it was because of him. I think he actually, if I remember this story correctly, swallowed some water, threw up in the pool. They had to close the pool and, put the shock and do whatever they're going to do in
the
the
whole 9
pool.
yards.
But the pool was close enough to closing time that they're like, all right, the pool's just closed.
Oh.
Yeah. Bradley, super pissed about not being able to get back in the pool and just would try and fight his way, bite his way, hit his way, climb his way out of my arms, to do anything he could to get back in that pool. And like, we couldn't let him get back in the pool because they just tried to fish out his vomit and they put chemicals in there. And like, he couldn't get in the water. It wasn't safe.
It wasn't. But he didn't understand that at the
He
time.
didn't understand that. No. And he doesn't care. All he wants to do is get back in the pool. But the easy thing for Kyle and I to do would have been to just shuffle him off, put him in the car, let him cry it out, hide his emotions and our reactions from everybody that's watching, and just call it a day. I think in that moment we kind of decided and we chose to be there and live through that moment and let other parents think, why can't they get that kid under control? Why can't they have him control his emotions? And they don't know that he's autistic and that his emotions are the part that he has a hard time controlling. I've talked about it for the reason of wanting to do this is like the connection that you have with your kid or your brother, displaying to them that it's okay for them to have those emotions in public and that it's not something they should hide from people and that they are allowed to be mad about something and pissed off and upset about something, and to not take them away and show them that those emotions need to be hidden, because then what they do when they get older is they decide that they want to hide their emotions, and then they just put a lot of pressure on themselves to be perfect, and they try too hard, and then they kind of lose their identity, and then who knows where that path takes them down the road.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think I can even think of a circumstance not too long ago when we were at we go to Wildwood every single year.
Yeah.
For the summer. Love it down there. I've been going down since I was a child. Eli has as well.
Shout out Wildwood's Barbecue, Joel. You know who I'm talking to.
And we were walking on the boardwalk, which Eli loves to do. My man likes to walk too. He loves the car. He's a little lazy sometimes, but he does like to walk, and he loves the beach. And we're walking down. We're having a great time. Like, nothing's happening. Eli's just holding on to our arms. And we're walking down the boardwalk. We get ice cream, and we go to turn around to go home. And Eli's like,
Nope.
Nope. So you guys took me one way, and we're going to finish it like this. But our car is like 15 blocks the other way.
Yeah.
My man, he just sits right on the ground and he just looks at us and he's just like, and we're like, oh, no, no, no. But, you know, in that moment, and I swear, like, it might be my maturity too. I'm just like, you know what? All right, you're gonna sit there then, and we'll wait here. Listen,
Yeah.
we will wait here. And then a police officer comes over, and he's like, hey, is like everything okay? And I was
Sure.
like, yes, he's autistic. Like, this is not like there's nothing going on. And he's like, okay, well, I just have to stand here because of just of safety, and like that way,
Sure.
anybody at Maury's doesn't call like the fire department or anything to make sure, you know. So,
or he doesn't get run over by a crazy family in one of those 5-person bikes that they
the bikes.
Yeah.
They only should be allowed for the morning.
Right.
But and I respected the officer. My mom was there with me too, and we respected him. We're like, no, thank you so much. And then that's when you start to have the people, you know, walking around like, oh, like being nosy, like, what's going on? Why are there police? Oh, no, Steven. I was like, there was this one woman, and I like felt so great that I stood up for Eli, because I was like, she comes over, she's like, is everything okay? I was like, he's autistic, thank you, you can keep walking. Like, the more attention you give us, the worse it's gonna get.
Yeah.
Like, so, and she's like, oh, and just walks away. Because I don't play that game anymore. Like, you're not gonna sit here and look over our shoulders. Like, I know he doesn't look like he's autistic, but he is. And the more attention that you're giving him by laying on the ground and him not getting up, the worse it's going to be for us as, you know, the family members who are trying to support
because then he gets nervous, and it just turns it into something it doesn't need to be, because people are just nosy
and
being judgmental.
I'm nosy too, but like, I would never put anybody in a position that they would feel uncomfortable. And like Eli, I love him to death, and he used to feed off it a lot more when he was younger. But when he's out in public sometimes and he's doing this, it is like it's an attention seeking thing. So I mean, he ended up getting up, and we walked back. So it just took us a few minutes. And luckily, like, I was very grateful that the police officers were even like, okay, no, we will stand here for as long as you need to. They just put their backs to us, because then it's not also giving in to the attention aspect. Like, they were just there to protect us. And they were, I mean, it's awesome when you see like law enforcement who are actually, you know, being respectful and not just immediately you know, thinking,
saying,
obviously,
all right, you got to move on, you got to get out of here, you're causing a disturbance. Yeah. And I mean, good for them. But I think, to backtrack a second to the point that you were making about like, it's an attention seeking thing. Like, maybe it is, but who doesn't do that on a daily basis? Like, you wear shoes because you like them, but also because, oh, those are really cool shoes, or, you know, your bag, or listen, it's no different when a neurotypical person goes out with something that they love, that
I completely agree.
Compliments. Oh, that's a great necklace. Your earrings are awesome. It's no different for a kid on the spectrum. That's how they feel comfortable living their life. And it's just whether they want attention or it's just what they need in that moment to sit. Like, it's no different. And it shouldn't be treated differently. And good for advocating for him and saying, all right, we're just going to let him sit, you know, and we're going to let him chill out. Sit down with him, maybe. Have a sit. Eat some ice cream sitting on the boardwalk. Who cares?
Just
right?
like, I mean, if it's honestly, like, he's done it at Target too, and I just stand there. Like, he didn't want to walk around Target. Okay,
cool.
Oh, listen, I had the cart in front of me. He was sitting on the ground. He was like, yeah, I'm just going to stay here. And my mom came back. I was like, you ready to go? And he's like, he got right up, walked right out to the car. So those are the things. And it's like, sometimes it is just like about being accommodating to the needs that he has. And I'm happy to, especially if we're in public. Like, I do not mind anymore. It's hard, don't get me wrong, at times, but like, I don't mind, because I know, like, at the end of the day, like, him even like being out in the public, it's really helping him with his social skills, and being able to know what we're doing in public, to also, if something happens, and people who might not have that same, you know, knowledge of autism as they are seeing it, and hopefully they're learning, like, okay, like, they're doing, like, I just need to mind my own business at the end of the day.
Yeah. And we're vocal about who he is too, because of that. So, you know, if we can just change one person's mind about what it is to have a child that's autistic, if he's running around or his behavior is something that somebody is questioning, it's like, oh, he's autistic, and this is how he just expresses his energy and his fun and his love of like life. Like, if that changes one person's mind, where there's one less family that might have to navigate the world for the first time with their kid that's autistic, maybe they encounter people that have encountered somebody else that has an autistic child, and then
Yes.
there's not judgment and there's awareness actually, and they understand what's going on instead of just looking at that family I mean, we're at a restaurant and I see it all the time, looking at that family at a restaurant that has the kid that's not able to sit or have a quiet dinner, or on the other side of it has the iPad, and they're like, ugh, they just give him an
Yeah,
iPad
the
and have him
people.
sit there.
Yeah, people don't get this. Some people don't understand
But
that.
I was kind of that way, like, and your knowledge and your experience in life changes a lot of that. Like, you know, I remember thinking my kid's never going to have an iPad in public. He's never going to be on it. He's never going to do this. He's never going to do that. And what do we do when we go to dinner? He comes here, we turn his iPad on, we give him his headphones, and he gets to watch whatever he wants on YouTube Kids. My wife can have a dinner. Bradley can eat some food and be happy.
Yes.
He's well regulated. He's not overstimulated, and it's a pleasant experience for everybody involved.
I think that's so important.
But it would be easy for me to be like, hey, no, you're not going to have this, and then turn the whole thing into an experience that he detests and never wants to go to dinner, because all he knows then is that I'm not going to be able to do what makes me comfortable because my parents are forcing their opinion on who I need to be at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
And they're not allowing me to have my kind of quiet comfort space.
Yeah, I remember seeing him. I remember when we had the event here, and he was happy as a lark.
Yeah.
He was so calm. He had his toys on the table.
But he was still engaged.
Yeah. And
He
if
was
you
having
said,
fun.
make sure you say hi, I'm like, hey, Bradley. Like, you know, like he was there. And like, obviously, like, you know, when you were putting on your event, like that was all to raise money for other individuals with autism in general. So like, just he's literally the best. I love seeing him.
I love it too. So she keeps referring to events. Yeah, and we'll get into this a little bit later on. Makayla also works for the Eagles Autism Foundation, which is how we ultimately ended up meeting.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've been friends now for a little over a year and a half, maybe 2 years, because she took on a role where she's like an ambassador now to people that are putting on events and raising money. And the event she's referring to is we had our boy Landon Dickerson out here. Shout out Landon.
Shout out Landon.
Right? He came and was amazing. He had, I don't know, hundreds of people here, maybe 1,000 or so that came in to see him. And it was a great night, but that's the event she keeps referring to. And that's the first time she met Bradley. Yeah, we did it. Yeah, we did a couple of things. Yeah, it's been a fun run, but again, it's easy to be like, yeah, the interviews, maybe an article, you know, whatever, but it is all to raise awareness to the cause, you know, and it's not always all about making money for a foundation that's helping the kids. It's also putting on events to show people that there can be a space that's safe and fun and engaging, but also very accommodating to a child that's on the spectrum.
Absolutely.
It's no different than, we talked about this before the interview started, but it's really no different than accommodating for people with physical disabilities. You know, our job in society has been to make things easy for people that have a physical disability to be able to experience life the same way that people that don't. And I love that we're getting to a space now where we can talk about helping kids that are on the spectrum or that have a developmental disability, you know, an invisible disability, experience life the same way that we are. And it's not all about making them fit into what we tell them they have to fit into. It's designing a space, and we'll probably talk about this, the sensory room at the Link and things like that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's huge. My kid knows that's there. And when we go to the Link, it's like, dude, you can go run around the field and be in the locker rooms and see the Lombardis, but he doesn't want to do any of that. He wants to go right to the sensory room and hang out there for, literally, he would live there if we let him.
Oh, it's such a nice space.
It's a cool
I have
space.
to say, I love being in there. I mean, whether it be like the Lego wall to the different, I mean, they have also like these really cool chairs. I remember, the chairs are comfy.
The chairs, yeah.
They're like rock back and forth, which is also just like a sensory thing too. Like, but I love that sensory room, and just like hitting on, just the foundation and being able to work for them and to see, from Eli being diagnosed to learning about
Well, it didn't
autism.
exist at that point either, right? The Eagles Autism Foundation's been around for 8 years.
Yes,
If I have
9.
that
We
right, 8 or 9.
started in 2018. We were
Okay.
established and
All right.
held our first Eagles Autism Challenge. I was actually only a senior in high school at that time.
What better time to start it than after winning their first bowl?
I know. And oh my gosh, it's just so great. And just to see, I think, coming from like taking myself out of like the foundation, but to be able to, see that there is a foundation that is aligned with, what you want, like what you want to support autism with, then your favorite sports organization.
Sure.
Philadelphia Eagles.
Go Birds.
Like, I was an Eagles fan my entire life. My family loved the Eagles. My grandfather, my great grandparents, they all are from Philly. So to see that we are able to bring together two of our passions of the Eagles and autism, and allowing my brother, like, I would have never expected Eli to ever go to the Lang. Like, I would have never even known that Eli would go there. Like, but the fact that the foundation has been able to open up doors to have the all abilities clinics
Sure,
where Eli
yeah.
is able to go in and play the drums. Man's loved music. He
We
loves
just
music.
experienced those for the first time with Bradley
Yes.
this year because he was old enough to go and do it. Yeah.
No, and it's so cool. Like the all abilities clinics, to then, the challenge in general, to be able to see that and see how many, families really are coming together. It's not just families that have a family member with autism, but it's family, there's friends, there's coworkers.
Sure.
There's different businesses.
Yeah.
That there's companies that want to support the foundation. Like, it's so nice to see that,
Yeah.
like, finally, after all this time. And like, I'm like thinking back to when I was 10, 11 years old, and it was like, okay, like I was scared that people would come over my house because I was like, are they going to understand what Eli's doing? Like, whether
Yeah.
it be the flapping, the stimming, I should say. That's really what it was.
Yeah.
Like the stimming aspect. Like, were they going to be able to understand that?
Well, yeah, and as a young teenager, you're just, again, I mean, we've all been there. So you're worried about what your
you were
friends
always
think,
worried.
what people think, and it's hard because, again, you're worried about you and you're worried about what's going on. But in the end, it's your brother or it's your son, and you have to make sure that they are taken care of well and that people understand who they are. And I mean, I feel like, at least for us in our family, it's really helped us understand who's going to be really accepting of him anyway. And it's really helped us kind of like recognize really good people, because first of all, Bradley is awesome at recognizing people that are really good.
Oh,
And he sees that, and he's a good kid, but it's the community aspect of it. And then who's going to understand, like, maybe you had 2 or 3 girlfriends in high school that were really like into understanding who Eli is and getting to know him, and not just looking at him like he's just some kid they don't understand that has a disorder that they don't get.
Yeah, actually.
And then those are your friends that you lean on to like get you through life. And that's what this Eagles Autism Foundation community kind of builds through action, through awareness, but through events and through just meeting strangers that are on the same plane as you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my best friends in high school, one of them, Erin, she actually just finished up her master's, and she's going to be taking her exam to become a BCBA soon. So
That's awesome.
And
maybe Eli was the inspiration to that.
And sometimes I like to think that
your handling of being a big sister.
Yeah, and she was, I mean, I would say she was one of the first people. I've known her since I was 13 years old. Like,
yeah.
We go back, gosh, now it's been 13 years since we've been friends. Can't even believe that. And I just remember, anytime when she was coming into my house, and Eli's a lover boy. Like, he loves women.
Yeah.
Don't get me
All
wrong.
right.
Eli loves women. And he would just like always like come and snuggle up on people, like when they would walk in the house. And not everybody loves that.
Yeah.
But like, he does not have much personal space. But I just remember, like, Erin, every time coming to our house, always making sure she's saying hello to Eli. He's coming over with her. He's sitting with her on the couch. And she actually came on vacation with us when I was, gosh, I think I was about 16. And same thing, like she had known Eli and nothing but just a great time, always accepting of who Eli was, what he was doing, understanding that his meltdowns. I mean, there's such a cute picture of all of us, like we're all in the ocean, and Eli used to love, like, just, he thought he could swim anywhere he could. Like, I'm so serious. And like North Carolina and the Outer Banks, like the waves are a little bit different there. So we were scared he was going to get,
Yep.
but there's me, Aaron, and Eli just holding hands in the water.
Yeah.
No, she was always so amazing. And like at that age when you don't really have anybody in your family with, any physical or developmental disabilities, like to see her be able to step in and be my best friend, but also somebody who is so accepting of who Eli was and my family, like just everything about it.
Yeah, it's awesome. And it's great to hear too, because, we touched on it a little bit in the early part, but like just you, basically your grandmother and your mom raising Eli, having other people outside of his family that are able to kind of show him a really good example of like how to be a good human and how to be a good person, because the father figure isn't there, but having other people showing him what it really means to respect people and to be nice to other people that aren't in your family, that you don't have to be nice to because they're your family. It's important, and good for your friend Erin for embracing that and understanding that, like, maybe she's able to help shape Eli's respect for other people too.
Oh, absolutely. She played such a pivotal role. And obviously, like my grandmother, my mom, my pops Joe, we've been able to really navigate through all of this together.
Yeah.
And, now, like when I was younger, like I was the one who was staying home, and obviously like I'm an adult now, like
Yeah.
I have a job.
Yeah.
I obviously am not home as much anymore, and sometimes that really hurts, like me, because I feel a little bit guilty at
Sure.
times, because my entire life was revolved around just supporting my family, like being there for my family. I mean, my mom is obviously the head of the household, so she was going out, working, advocating for Eli. Like I was home watching Eli, making sure, like, I mean, us going out on just car rides when I was able to drive. Like, so I think as a sibling, you do feel that guilt a little bit as you get older.
It's like a little like parental guilt.
Yeah, because you feel like
I feel that because I work a crazy hours job where I'm gone 50 hours a week sometimes. And
yeah,
like last weekend, he just is like, Dad, don't go to work. I'm like,
no,
dude, I can't. But I'm like, don't do that to me. Like, but I know why you're doing it, because you love me. So it's cool. But yeah, I mean, you feel that guilt because
yeah, it was
he's known something his whole life, and then things start to change. And if we've kind of found anything about Bradley too, and I'm sure with Eli, the routine and the familiarity sometimes is what really helps them kind of navigate each day. As much as it might sound a little wacky and crazy to people, it's like, all right, if we wake up at 8:00, if we wake up at 8:05, things are different. If we wake up at 7:45, things are very different.
Waking up at 4:30 in the morning, those early days. Yeah. Oh, it's a completely different.
But you fall into those patterns. Like we have one story. We just got a puppy. Her name's Bowie. She's awesome. She likes to eat clothing. But we had a bunch of mornings in a row, Bradley was the one to let her out of her crate when she's done sleeping. And one morning Bradley didn't let her out of her crate, and my wife Kyle got up and let her out of the crate first, and it was 25 minutes of crying because that routine was broken. That was his thing. And he just, again, it goes back to, the parental, the support, the advocating, but the allowing them to have their emotions the way that they need to have them to feel better about what just happened. Because if you try and shun them and tell them, just bury that emotion, I don't know why you're crying, you're being, emotional or ridiculous,
like,
then
it's okay.
But that is the first step into showing them that, like, having your emotions be prevalent is not okay, and that's our job, is to help them be as happy and emotionally sound as possible, right?
Absolutely.
So
always.
But Yeah, it's crazy how but yeah, back to
That very subtle routine
the
changes.
parental guilt and the like sisterly guilt. Maybe you're not spending enough time with them, but yeah, it's hard when you have to adjust to that whole new routine.
Yeah, I think like
Yeah.
when I left for college, I mean, it was like when I left for college, my gosh, 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Like it really hurts sometimes, like
Yeah.
thinking about it. And I remember seeing Eli for like the first, like, cause like I went to school at LaSalle University, so I was pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was an hour away from home, not even.
Yeah.
But I always loved the city. So I mean, seeing Eli like come out to like my college apartment, or I should say my first dorm, was so sweet. It was just like bittersweet, because I'm like, oh, you're seeing like I watched you my entire like my entire life.
Yeah.
Like I have watched you grow, and now this is my time that I have to go grow.
Yeah.
And he also, like, he would come down to, like, I played club lacrosse. I never said I was good at lacrosse, but I played club lacrosse.
Okay.
And he came down to a game. And it's just, there's just so many good memories with him. But it was guilt at first. And when I started working even more, and when I eventually moved out of my house, when I was postgraduate, that was hard too, because, you know, I talked, it was always me, my mom, and Eli all the time. Like, an occasional, obviously, my grandparents as well, but it was me, my mom, and Eli, and that's just how I always grew up. And not having them around and just feeling like I need to do so much more at all times, it was difficult to deal with, but I was also trying to live my life. And it's crazy because my mom, not even crazy, but so strong of my mom to always tell me, like, Kayla, go,
Yeah.
like, go spread your wings and fly and live your life. Like,
yeah. Well, you've spent all this time, you know, advocating and understanding for him and your family. It was awesome that her response was, go do this for yourself now.
yeah. And I mean, and that brings me to like today, and just even in like my past careers, like I have always worked with children with disabilities. Like I just have always felt that there was, you know, there are special people in this world that are able to work as like one-on-ones, aides, RBTs, BCBAs, and I give so much credit to all of them, because I know that they have a special, like, there's just something special about them and about those personalities, that they are patient, they are kind, they're understanding, and it is traits that I feel that in this community is what they deserve. They deserve every single opportunity as a neurotypical individual gets. So I would always make sure that, like, I think I was 17 when I started a variety, and Eli was 7. Oh my gosh. But I started working there, and I was a 1-to-1, and it was with a child who was nonverbal, didn't really have much coming in from an IEP standpoint. And I had obviously known Eli, and I was like, oh, like, I got this. Like, I'm going to have a great summer, because I understand autism. I understand my brother. And that's when I got my reality check. And I was humbled, because I, at that time, was unaware that, you know, every child's needs is different.
They're so different.
So different.
Yeah.
And I, walking in here 17, big chest, like, I got this. And I was literally everything that I thought I knew. Yeah.
Well, you try and put it into into terms of, like, if you break your ankle, there is a almost linear path from broken ankle to cure, right? To it being fixed. And I think that when you have a developmental disorder, people try and quantify it that way as well. They're like, all right, so this is what they have, and then this is the treatment that we're going to use, and that's going to help them get through their day every day.
Right.
And first of all, there is no cure. So we're not looking at that. We're not talking about any of that. We're talking about helping people navigate their day and just live a better life for themselves. But I think that's what you're talking about, is that, you're like, oh, I've worked with my brother, so I understand autism, and this is the only way that it is. And it's the old, again, I said it in the last podcast, you've met one person with autism, you've only met one person with
You've
autism.
only met one person.
Because it's so different for everybody.
And that summer, I learned so much.
You got your ass kicked.
When I tell you, that was like my turning point of like, I love this and I'm going to make it my job to be better for any individual that I work with on the autism spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
And that summer, like, yeah, I went through it, and there were days that I like went home and I was crying because I was like, why am I not doing a good enough job to allow for this camper to be having a great summer? Like, I was just putting so much blame on myself because I was like, I should know this. I should know what I'm doing. And I ended up being able to work with the executive director for a little bit. And she was like, Makayla, you got this. You can finish out the summer. You just need to open up your mind a little bit more and just attack this in a different way. Like, if we're not doing work, okay, do we take a break? How are we communicating? Do we have a board? Do you have something that you can help him communicate with? So it was a lot. But at the same time, I think it was a really great learning opportunity, and understanding that every individual that I may work with over that summer are going to have different needs, different communicating styles. There might be different reinforcers. Like in my day, am I going to have to take 20 walks today as like a reinforcement? Do we go to the sensory room? So it was just really trying to find out how to make the day of the camper as successful as possible.
Sure. Yeah.
So
good for you.
It was also, but listen, I'll tell you what, I came back that next summer and I was like, yeah.
Ready to rip.
Yeah.
But it's the learned experience. And again, it goes back to tailoring the life of yourself and pushing your needs and like your emotions aside, and really understanding that like, you're the neurotypical and you're theoretically the big person in the room and the one that can make the right decisions for the kid on the spectrum. So it's your job to navigate that space and make sure that you're doing what you can to help them get through the day, not what is going to make your day easier with them. It's what makes their day easier, period, because you're not there as a camp counselor to just work with them for 6 hours in a day and then send them home. You're spending an entire summer with these children, and they're kids at an age where they're very impressionable. And like, hopefully what you're doing is helping them learn and navigate for the rest of their life. So like your impact isn't just they come at 8 and they leave at 3 and then it's never there again. Maybe one day down the road when that kid is 15, 16, 20, 30 years old, he remembers Makayla from camp and he's like, she really helped me through a similar situation. And I'm going to kind of employ some of those tactics that we used in camp to get through this situation.
Absolutely.
To get through what I'm going through right now.
And like the same thing, I mean, I'll say like this morning we went to the dentist with my brother, and the dentist, any doctor's appointments can be very hard depending, like the autism spectrum is so wide. Like it can either be really great or it can be really bad. You don't know. And like for us specifically, the doctor can be a little bit difficult. But the dentist is also, it can be very nerve-wracking. I was even scared. I was even scared of the dentist for a long time. So we went to parental, which is actually a Eagles Autism Foundation community grant recipient. So they were able to actually fund their dental program because they actually have a suite dedicated for disabilities,
That's
autism
awesome.
and disabilities.
That's great.
And we went in there, and the first time we went, Eli sat on the floor the entire time. We didn't really even like touch his mouth, but they have it structured where if you have every 3 months, you're going to come in to desensitize him, but also understanding like when we're in that room, okay, this is what we're doing. We're going to send you home with supplies so that we can work on certain skills to know this is okay at the dentist's office. So we went this morning and they were trying to do the teeth cleaning, which first off, he sat in a chair, which was phenomenal. He sat in a chair. He sat in the chair. And we were like, oh my gosh. And I started counting. I was like, 1, 2, because Eli knows 1 to 10. And like, that's like a nice clear cut start and finish for him. So he was having a little bit of trouble actually getting the tool in his mouth, like to have the dentist work on him. But we started counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then you get a break. He comes and sits back down. They go in again. We count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Up, down. And when I tell you, this boy, I have never seen him actually sit in a dentist chair, have them actually clean his teeth.
Yeah.
They're showing him like they were so hands-on with him in this experience, but they were also adapting to the fact of we've noticed that counting 1 to 10 and allowing him to have a break to get up and come back was working.
Mhm.
And it was that every time, and we were like, this is the farthest we've ever gone. He hadn't even sat in a chair before.
That's awesome. That's such a win.
It was oh my gosh, it was a huge win, because we're like, any other time, like he's not doing this.
No.
But I was like, wow.
But if you're at a
wow.
regular dentist, that lasts for 3 minutes, and then they're like, don't ever come back here again.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the important part of like the work that you're doing now is. And like, again, a parental involvement, like it would be, again, very easy to be like, all right, Dr. Smith has been our dentist for 40 years for my family, so that's where you're going to go. And if it doesn't work out, just trying to force the issue is never going to change the fact that they aren't okay with the dentist, and taking them to a place like that where they understand what it means and what it's going to take to really work through that. Like, we have similar story with Bradley with dentists. We picked a dentist because they are good with kids on the spectrum. We have a same story with his barber. His barber was like we found him on a Facebook group, and he owns Sal's Barbershop, and he's the owner of it, and he makes himself available to kids that are on the spectrum because he has a way with kids that is special. And like, Bradley looks forward to going there. I mean, the lollipops, the Rice Krispie treats, and the Philly pretzel factory right next door does not hurt. But
hey,
the initial from his first haircut to now is unbelievable. Like, I could have. Yeah.
That's another huge win to his haircut.
Yeah.
Huge win.
Yeah, because then he can, again, Sal did a great job of tailoring the visit to what Bradley needs, not to what Sal needs the visit to be, and he's great for that. But you need to find, someone that can do that for you for a lot of aspects in life. And I mean, again, as neurotypical people, we choose doctors and dentists and people that cut our hair for the same reasons, because we feel good about who they are and how comfortable they make us feel. So why would we ever think that if a kid's on the spectrum, being forced into something they're not comfortable with is ever going to work?
Yeah, because usually it doesn't.
No. And
doesn't.
But that's the hard thing to frame and to explain to people that don't understand it or don't live it. Is that, like, all you're going to do is make it worse if you keep forcing them to do something that they're not comfortable with. And it's not they don't want to do it. It's not that they can't do it. It's not that they aren't ever going to be able to do it. You have to find the way to facilitate them doing it.
Yeah.
And you're talking about some things we talked about before with like social stories and prepping them for what's going on and explaining to them how the day's going to go.
Our visual schedules that we have.
The visual schedules that the EAF does for when you're taking a kid to a game. But I mean, those things are helpful to me as a neurotypical dad that doesn't know how to navigate around the stadium when they've never been to a football game before. So
it's like at first you're doing this.
Yeah.
Then,
this is really easy now. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Eli used to use those boards like first this, then that. And I've also felt that it's really helpful. I mean, even me, I feel like sometimes I struggle in my day, like all the tasks I have to do. And I'm like, okay, first I need to group these things. So I'm like, first I need to send out the emails. Then I can go in to do them a little graphic design type of stuff. Yeah. So I get it. It's just about how you're tailoring it to the individual in general. No, I love the boards. He used to use them all the time.
Yeah, but that's what, and we'll kind of roll into this a little bit because it's, you did that work with the camps and then you're in college. What did you go to college for?
So I actually went for communication and marketing.
Okay.
So I wanted to do more of like production, in-game production. I worked at LaSalle in their athletics department all 4 years, which was so much fun. I was able to like call direct games that were put on ESPN Plus. So
That's cool.
I had a lot of fun, but I had a dream to do that since I was like 15 years old. And
That's awesome.
I was able to, and then went to the Flyers for a little bit, did their in-game production. Went to Villanova. I didn't study at Villanova. I worked there for 10 months. Loved Villanova, did content creation to working at the Eagles in their marketing department as a seasonal associate to then having this opportunity with the foundation. And I remember like when I had started at the Eagles, they had the all abilities clinics and you were able to volunteer as a seasonal associate. And I remember my first one being drumline, and I just like loved it. I loved being in the space. I loved meeting all of the different participants that were there. And I remember talking to one of the parents, they were saying how this was their child's first time coming to an all abilities clinic, and he was just having a harder time just adjusting to that space. And I remember I took them into a quieter space. I was helping him engage into the actual activity. And sometimes, I know, when it was Eli's first time, he wanted no parts. He just wanted to sit in the sensory room. But by the second, third time, it was like, okay, you're getting
familiar and a little easier. Yeah.
And just the fact that I was able to do that, and one of the best things is being able to see the parents actually being able to take the pictures of their kids participating in these activities.
Yeah.
When you can be hands off for a minute. And I think that's a big thing that I like to make sure I try to do is whenever I see, a participant that may be having a more difficult time getting engaged in an activity, okay, what am I doing proactively to ensure that they are going to have a great time today? Am I going to sit here and talk to them? Am I going to do the activity with them? I remember doing it even at one of the last cheer clinics where she was feeling it, she wasn't feeling it, and I just kept talking to her I was talking to her the entire time. And I was like, you got to show me this. So that is how I even got started in the foundation. It was all just from volunteering.
Yeah.
And I just knew that I was like, all right, I have this skill set. I know I'm obviously older now. I love to work with all of the participants, whether they be the little kids to the older kids. Listen, I was like, I'm all for it. And I loved that they were able to put that on.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a testament to, again, the people that organize it really understanding what needs to happen to make kids on all sides of the spectrum feel comfortable with what they're doing, but then also providing a place where parents can feel good about what they're doing with their kids too. And
I think that's the biggest thing.
We roll it into the parental part of this again, where, I'll tell the story briefly, but after our first experience with EAF, it would have been real easy for me to be like, never again are we doing anything in public like this ever. I mean, there was a bounce house. It was up in the Torque Lounge.
Oh, the bounce houses.
Bradley wanted to get on, and he wanted to get right back on and get right back on. And he wanted to cut line and run ahead of people. And we had to just look, dude, this isn't the way that it's structured. You have to wait in line. You have to be a little patient. Not things he was good at that time at all. So I'm holding him. He's hitting me. He's crying. I mean, it's by all other person's accounts, it is an absolute disaster. And I had a mom behind me put her hand on my shoulder and say to me, you're doing exactly what you need to do right now for your son, and it'll be fine. And this is going to get better. And it didn't, but her telling me that it gave me, we talked about it earlier in this discussion, showing your kids that their emotion is okay to display, and that if you choose to hide them while those are happening, then it shows them for the rest of their life that it's not okay to be who they are.
Exactly.
And then also it's going to show them that when things get a little tough, you're just going to run away and you're going to hide them as well as a parent and not take that situation head on and make it better for them. So that mom doing that for me, really was a turning point for me. But I mean, until then, it would have been almost unthinkable for me to be let's go do this again.
Yeah.
And I think whether it's the EAF or whether it is an event at, I don't know, Urban Air or any of these places that have that
I work there too.
Yeah, but it's if if you constantly try and, expose and you take your emotion out of it, the financial expenditure out of it, and you're like, well, we just wasted $40 coming to urban air and my kid had a meltdown 2 minutes in and we had to leave. Like, maybe next time it's 10 minutes. Maybe the time after that it's 20 minutes. And then maybe the time after that it's 45 minutes to an hour and you can actually sit on a bench in the middle of urban air and breathe for an hour, knowing that your kid is in a place that is safe, but they're having fun.
Absolutely.
And they're letting loose a little bit and they are feeling comfortable and learning how to deal with their feelings and their emotions in a more advanced way than they have been before.
Yeah. And I think that, even the fact of, it's funny you bring up urban there. I did work there back in the day. I know. I was like, I feel like I've had like the craziest jobs ever. And I think a little bit of it also falls on the employers too, like Urban Air as a company. Because I know another thing that we are working towards is, the fact of, we have our game day staff,
Mhm.
right? So we have, I think, almost 40 members of our game day staff. So involving that employment for individuals with disabilities in general. So to be able to, I think an important thing is that Urban Air is able to showcase an inclusion aspect of understanding individuals with disabilities and autism too, in my opinion, because I think that's something that I know, like when I was at Urban Air, I don't know if it wasn't when I was there. Maybe not. Honestly, I don't remember. I did a lot of training videos. But I think it's also making the employees aware of, individuals with autism and behaviors that may happen. And
Sure.
again, like, it's like the same thing as like a lifeguard at a pool. Like, they may see somebody running and they're going to yell, stop running. But it's like, okay, if they see that this individual may be having a harder time listening, it's like, what can we do to adjust the demand?
Again, it goes into the parental advocacy part of it too. So like, I mean, talking about Urban Air a little, I don't know that they do those things.
I have no idea, truthfully.
We've had great experience there.
See?
But it's scary as fuck sometimes. You go there and it's like your kid, they run around, they don't quite understand like the space and they don't, but
the trampolines.
But the staff has been helpful with finding, like I've lost them in Sky Zone and Urban Air, and like the staff is helpful. I'm like, have you seen a little blonde kid with blue eyes and a Eagles shirt, probably running around, or a skull shirt? Yeah, running around. He's mine. Can you please bring him back to me? Then they're obliging and they're cool. But those are people that are trained to like work with kids, but then maybe understand that there's a parent that has a kid that's different than everybody else that just needs a little more help.
Just a little bit more support.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So
I'm all for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I remember taking Eli to Sky Zone when he was little. We've had a trampoline in our yard since he was 2. So I remember we took him to Sky Zone and he loved every single second of that. He was a big trampoline
we lived
guy.
There in the winter for a couple of years.
Yeah. I hope you had that like season pass.
We did. 100%. It was like his Christmas present 3 years in a row from his grandmother, my wife's mom. So
love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I feel like we've
touched a lot. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we have. Yeah.
I feel like we've touched like a lot of different avenues here.
Yeah. And it's been great. Yeah. It's been a good discussion. I think it's a good place to kind of like wrap it up, but I want to thank you very much for taking time out of your day and joining me and helping me kind of get more people's perspective on what happens with this. And, again, I'll a little shameless plug. I'll put a link up if you want to donate to the EAF and our efforts. I'd love for that. And so would they, because they are a charity and they're a foundation that takes every bit of that money and make sure it gets poured right back into making little kids' lives. And now even with some of their new initiatives, teenagers and grownups' lives a lot better. And it makes it easy for them to try and navigate life and just exist and be better.
Yeah.
So
that's the beauty of it. 100% of the donations go directly into research and care programs. So
cool.
Definitely look into that.
All right. Thanks for coming, Makayla.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
That was a great conversation.
All right. Bye, guys.
See you. Do we really talk for an hour?